Safaricom sets the pace for everything that happens in this country. So when Safaricom is serious about customer experience, customer service, customer loyalty, everybody else follows that. So in terms of organizations in these countries that set the pace, Safaricom is the apex of best practices in this country. If I may make a few remarks about NPS and why NPS is important and what the impact is if you look at evolution of business, businesses have gone through different stages. From the time when the most important thing was having, you have companies that were winning were based on logistics. Then you had companies that were winning having the best manufacturing process. What we've gone through is a period where customer experience has become the key driver for business. And that has happened largely because of people's access to information, the internet. And so if you look back 10, 15 years ago, a brand would say that they are the best at something. And because people didn't have information, people would just have to believe that they're best because that brand was shouting. But what we are at today, it's really what other people are saying about that brand that makes that brand. So if I wanted to buy something, if I wanted to buy a phone, if I wanted to decide to sign up for a phone line, the first thing that I would do is ask somebody. People have always asked people, but there was no way to validate what somebody else is telling you. Nowadays, you ask somebody, then you go online. And you look at the top 10 comments and say, okay, what are people saying? This is what I'm going to get. So because of those changes, the customer experience has become the key driver for business, and you need tools to be able to measure that. So when you look at the internet, there's a lot of noise about something. But how do you measure what people's opinions or sentiments are, and what is the sentiment that really matters? And so NPS really captures the sentiment that matters. How likely are you to recommend a brand XYZ? How likely are you to recommend Safaricom? Because that is the key driver. If you're likely to recommend, then you're likely to say positive things about it. You're likely to recommend it to your friends, and that drives business. Now, from a bottom line perspective, you have, once you start being able to measure, you can start trying to see the impact on the organization. So if, for example, you have 100 customers, and they say that, 100 customers who spend 100 shillings each, and that comes to about, my math is about 10,000. And if you have 50% of those customers saying that they would not recommend, it means that the chance of you selling something else to those customers does not exist. So you can see the business impact of the likelihood of people to recommend. If people are not recommending people to your business, it means there's no pipeline, there's no path to growth. But if people are recommending, it means that every time somebody is looking for a product, your customers are recommending them, and hence driving growth. You can see this in our country, in the sense that if you look at the companies that are growing and you look at their NPS score, it's relatively higher to the companies that are not succeeding or not prospering, as you may say. And this is just not a local thing, this is a global thing. Now, the thing about Safaricom is pretty much has no comparable in this market. And so you have to go around the globe to see, okay, what are the comparables? So if I'll say, okay, let me look at what are the other companies that are using NPS. If you look at Amazon, Amazon is really thriving in the US, in Europe, and they really pay close attention to their NPS. NPS is just not a metric, but it's a metric that the company can rally around, because this metric is actually based on the customer. So businesses like Apple, businesses like Amazon are all really keen about their NPS, because this is a metric that they can rally around to drive their businesses. From an individual perspective, in terms of career growth, again, in this market, Safaricom is the apex enterprise, I would say. So as somebody who's familiar with NPS, in future you might go out and start your own businesses, you might join other companies. And these are the tools and understanding of customers and best practices that you're equipped with to be able to apply both internally and externally, and also advise, because again, Safaricom being an Apex company, people always come and ask you, how do I do this? How do you guys do this? How do I improve this? And you having that knowledge puts you in a position that is above and beyond most other people in a similar space.